If the countertop is an appropriate way for you to get your range of motion back, essentially what that means is you're unable to lift the weight of your own arm. So if that's the case, then use the fact that the arm is on a slippery surface with the weight of your arm taken away from you as a way to reestablish range of motion where you're moving from your arm and not cheating up here with your shoulder blade, like doing something like that. That is a bad habit that's hard to break, so try not to make it. So we can slide, we can move back and forth, you can get creative with any movement you want. But once this movement is well within your ability, then it's time to get more. And we do that by reverse engineering raising the arm by lowering the body. So I will just gradually work my way back based on how it feels. I might even get more than that to where I'm almost up to where my arm's equal to my ear. Keep in mind, you can also do it with other directions. So if I reach my hand out there and that feels like a nice challenge, I might just start moving my body and get a chance to open this up or get a chance to essentially reach across. Those are challenging movements for people when they're coming back from surgery. Stay posted for other exercise videos. I'm going to blend in with this one to show so many other ways that you can help assist your range of motion. Just like we talked about using the countertop to assist your range of motion, you can also use your other arm. Let's say it's my right arm that's been affected. My left arm's always nearby. So I will interlock my fingers and try to raise my arm with my right, but let the bulk of the effort of raising the weight of my arm be borne by my left. So my right arm is trying to do this and my left arm is assisting. So I'll just go up like that in the manner that I'm okay with. That's forward. We can also go sideward by simply putting the hand underneath this way and assist it. Ways that you can progress that is that you can assist it to somewhere up here, then let go and let it figure out how to get down gracefully on its own. Get it up there, let it figure out how to get down gracefully on its own. You will be able to lower the arm comfortably and with some semblance of control before you'll be able to raise it. So just do that whenever you have the chance. If this is an exercise that's appropriate for you, you better be doing it a lot because it's very difficult to reestablish normal range of motion, and if you drag your feet on it, the longer it takes to get it, the less likely you ever get it. So work at it below the threshold of pain. Discomfort is okay, pain is not. Work at that level, work frequently at that level, and see the results you get. Probably the most common way to help reestablish your shoulder range of motion is to use a stick, or sometimes people call it a wand. But there's no magic to it. It's just your effort, your energy, and your ability to sense how much is enough. Remember, it's going to be uncomfortable, but it shouldn't be frankly painful. Oftentimes, the more you do it, the more comfortable it becomes, because a lot of times your pain is your perception of threat, either consciously or subconsciously. Your body or you consciously believe this is going to hurt, it's going to be bad, and so you're tightening up before it even happens, and that makes it more likely to hurt. So after you do a couple and you realize how far you can go, then you can get comfortable with that. But ways that people typically do that are to use a stick and they just have one arm help the other. I personally don't like to use it like this. I prefer to use it like this. So now I've got leverage and I can just come up like that. We'll even have people do this for a stretch. You've never had shoulder surgery, just kind of have some tight shoulders. But to help get that, and of course, you can go the other way too. In this plane of motion, you're probably going to have to hold it because we don't want you to come up with a downturned palm. We want thumb up. Well, if my thumb is up, then the only way I'm going to be able to do that is to physically hold it, or maybe have at least my thumb hooked on there like so, and then come sideways in the plane of my body like that. Certainly you can go into internal external rotation. You can also put it behind your back and try it like so, or like so, or like so. You can do it in front of you like this. The thing to remember is be careful what you're training for. You have leverage now, so you can cheat and you can train things that are not good. Here's what I mean by that. If I'm working on my range of motion into internal rotation, that'll be this way, which for most relevant cases, that's belt loops, scratching an itch, tucking in your shirt, fastening bras, things like that. So if I'm working on that and I'm just cranking and it's gonna be terrible. But I can do something like this we call a scarecrow, where I'm working on taking this right up my body as far as I can without my shoulders dumping forward, but by holding them here. So if I hold my shoulders where they belong and I bring it up like this, I'm going to find a way to help my internal rotation. Also, if I take the stick like this and then I just sort of pull like that, if I'm doing that because I'm trying so hard and I'm willing to put up with pain because I have good intentions, I'm not helping myself any. So remember, when you start to develop leverage, when you've got a towel, a stick, whatever you're using, have a sense of what quality is. You might want to do it in front of a mirror so you have a sense of that. Or if you're working with a therapist, do the home exercises in front of the therapist so you can get some feedback. But keep in mind, just because you're moving further doesn't mean you're moving better. You might be cranking on tissues that have no business being all stretched out. So work on it gracefully. Should be uncomfortable, not painful. Keep that in mind. As your range of motion improves, then it's less about getting to here, but more about getting all the way to that top overhead position. Tubing is a great assist for that. Most of the time when you see tubing in a therapy office, the tubing is to be resistance to make something harder. In this case, tubing is assistance. So what you do is you have your arm down here where there's some amount of stretch on the tube. So you should feel a bit of tension there. And then the elasticity of the tubing is going to assist me to get into that overhead position. So I'm trying to do this by myself, but the elasticity of the tube is assisting me. So it's pulling me there. So I'm still trying to, it's not passive, my arm's not turned off. I'm actively trying to go up. But as I'm actively trying to go up, that tubing is assisting me. Now you might notice I have my hand here. The reason I have my hand here is because if I don't have this range of motion fully, when that tube starts to pull me there, if it starts to get uncomfortable or if I'm afraid, I might just do that and disconnect my torso to use that as a way to cheat my arm to a higher position. Obviously that's cheating, it's not useful for anything. And in fact, a lot of people do that, including yours truly, when they get to a fully overhead position, so they have to be mindful of that to improve shoulder mobility and core stability. So if you're trying to get your shoulder back to normal, don't create some bad habits if you don't already have them. So lock that elbow, lock those abs, and then actively reach overhead as far as you can get it. As we've said before, mild discomfort is okay, frank pain is absolutely not. Now, depending on the height of you and the height of your door, you may not be able to do it in standing. No problem. Just come down to the ground. And so now everything's the same. It's just now the door will feel higher than it did before. My elbow's locked, my abs are locked, I'm looking straight ahead. I'm going to maintain my head. I'm not going to dump it like that. I'm not going to dump my pelvis like that. I'm controlling me, and then I'm actively reaching my arm up, and that tube is assisting me. If I would like to do it more sideways and work on that plane of motion, everything's the same. I just change the angle of my body relative to the tube. And I'm actively trying to raise my arm up, and the tube just helps me. If it feels too strong, just stretch it less. It's super easy. You can just get creative with how you do that. And if you want to try to get some different ranges of motion, there's some up and across range of motion that doesn't feel right to you, then make it up and across. The idea is that the tubing is assisting you in whatever motion you don't comfortably have. If you want to do that with your hand reaching up and behind your back, you do the same thing. So if I'm going to actively reach up towards this other shoulder blade, then I can have tension in the tubing, angle it so it's going towards my other shoulder blade, and now that is assisting me to get there. And if this is uncomfortable, I simply just straighten the arm and bring it back down. This is not a really strong tube, it's just a little assist. So there's some ways that you can think about how to use tubing as an assist to improve the range of motion of your shoulder.